Hello everyone, my name is Jordan, also known as X-3. Today I want to show you guys how to create a nice, rich, warm pad. I'm actually going to show you my way instead of what a lot of producers use, which is a lot of different harmonics with sine waves and a lot of different FM. We're not going to worry about that. So today, what I kind of did is I kind of boosted our chord stabs to kind of give it a little bit more oomph. A little bit more rhythmic moving patterns. So what I did is I turned on its built-in LFO and I turned up the filter amount for the LFO to be 24. I then took my LFO, turned it on, turned it to a rising saw, set it to sync and set it to 1/8. For the chord, I took it down -5 and +7. And that kind of did something a little bit more interesting. So let's have a listen to how this sounds now. A little bit more rhythmic movement, nice. A lot better than just going duh, duh, duh. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is basically I have another MIDI track in here. If you don't have one, right click and insert MIDI track. And since there is nothing in our MIDI track, I'm going to go to my deep tech sessions, choose my chord one shots, and I'm going to scroll inside of here and find a good sound to work with. And I'm going to show you my method of how I create pads, deep melodic sounds, and nice rich harmonic atmospheres. You'll see what I mean here in a second. It's kind of my own little technique. So, yeah. Number 2 has a very heartwarming feel, so I'm going to drop that down here. It's going to create a simpler for us. Right off the bat, I want to turn on loop, so that way when we hit a note, it'll loop over and over again. The next thing I'm going to do is turn up my spread to 64 to give it some width. Turn on my filter, but right now, I have an idea for the sound and how it should sound. So I'm going to just hit my middle C, let this loop over and over again, and I'm going to choose a section inside of the sample to loop over and over again to get more swinging into our sound instead of just one sound looping over and over. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so what I basically did is turn up my fade and turn up my start to 52.4%. This allows our sample to loop back and forth without a lot of choppiness. In order to make this like a playable note and create pads from it, we're going to do a little bit of finnick work. Just turn up the attack and turn up the release, and you'll see what I mean. There you guys have your own kind of sweet pad. And we haven't really done any chorus or anything. It's just directly built in, which is perfect. Okay, so now that I turned up my attack to 1.3 milliseconds and my release to 4.37, we kind of give it a little bit of its own like reverb to use. So instead of calling this DTS3 chord or whatever, I'm gonna rename it, call it warm pad. And for our warm pad, I'm going to create a clip. If you ever want to create a clip, just highlight some blank space and do Shift Command M. If you don't have Command, just replace it with Control. So now that we have this blank instance, I'm going to loop it, Command L to loop it. And I'm just going to double click for our C. And I'm going to hold down Alt and drag that up to G. Well, is it G? I think it's G. Anyways, and let it go. So that way we have C and G on the same line. I'm going to take this all the way to 1/2. I'm going to hit Command D to duplicate it. Now, I'm just going to move my top note down to F. Let's see how this sounds first. Okay, so instead of F, I'm going to take that probably to A. Let's see. That doesn't sound too great to me, so I'm actually going to take that down to E. And I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm going to take this line and I'm going to duplicate it above. So we have G. We should actually have, I'm going to take this D. So we have C, D, and E right here. I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to take my E and take it to G. So now let's have a listen to our chords. Our pad, I'm sorry. Now, I think this is a little bit too fast. So what I'm actually going to do is stretch this whole clip out 5 bars. Do Command J to kind of link them all together. Now, what I'm going to do is basically delete a lot of my C notes. I'm going to just have my C note replace all of these bottom notes so that way we get a continuous notation. I'm going to just basically delete a lot of this, the last 3. And I'm basically going to stretch E3. I want to let it start at 2. I'm going to stretch E3. I'm sorry, E3 from 2 to 3. Then I'm going to take my E, pitch it up to G, and take that for the rest of the bars. I think what's happening with our pad is that it's playing too many notes at too fast of a rhythm. And so those frequencies are just kind of muddying up the sound. So now we should have a better pad to work with for our sounds. Okay, so I just took it down 5 decibels, and the last thing we're going to do is throw on some chords, auto filter it, and distortionize this so that way we really get more sound into our synth. So I'm gonna allow this to play, and I'm gonna throw in an auto filter, an overdrive, compressor, and chorus, and you'll see what this does. So basically I took my auto filter to 209 Hertz, turned the mod milliseconds up to 20 milliseconds and the high pass delay to 0.01 milliseconds. So this just gives it full chorus, no high pass delay or anything. Just the blank instance of chorus is just what we need. Turn that up to the top left, turn the dry wet all the way. Just brought down my threshold. I took down 33% for the drive, put it on 966 Hertz, 3.86 for the peak, for the Q, and that's basically all I did. And it kind of really livened up the pad. I'm going to go back in here and not choose E. In fact, I'm going to just stretch G. Okay, so that should create your warm pad. I hope this kind of gives you an insight of what you can do with simpler a little bit more. And I'll check you guys out tomorrow for something more atmospheric. Because with deep house, you want to have some atmosphere, some pad, a driving chord, and not to mention a lot of percussion and drum sounds. That's really all that goes into a deep house track, but arranging it is a totally different situation. And I'll show you that later in the weeks to come. I'll show you that in about 2 days. Anyways, thanks for joining me. I hope you guys had a wonderful evening. Be sure to subscribe because that will keep you up to date. And the more subscribers I get, the better these videos will start to become, because then I get more critiqued information. That's better than having no information at all. So thanks for joining me. Check you guys out later. I'm gonna do some more Adobe stuff and try and figure that out for you guys. So yeah, thanks for joining me. I'll check you guys out later, and peace.